the year you stop waiting. A story about the quiet moment your life begins to change. You do not always notice the day your life starts changing. Sometimes it does not begin with a breakthrough, a celebration, or a big announcement. Sometimes it begins on an ordinary morning, a morning so plain it feels identical to the 100 mornings before it. The same ceiling above your bed, the same alarm tone, the same thoughts crawling into your head before your feet even touch the floor. I'm tired. I'm behind. I should be further along by now. I thought life would feel different by this point, but for some reason, on this one particular morning, something inside you refuses to go back to sleep. Not your body, your spirit, the part of you that has been watching quietly for years. The part of you that has seen every promise you made to yourself and every promise you broke. The part of you that remembers who you were before fear got so organized, before doubt got so convincing, before hesitation became your routine. You sit at the edge of the bed and feel it. Not motivation exactly, not confidence either, something smaller, something quieter, but maybe more powerful, honesty. And honesty says this: you cannot keep living like you're waiting for permission. You cannot keep calling your delay preparation when deep down you know it is fear. You cannot keep saying one day when your life is being spent in actual days, one by one morning at a time, 1 week at a time, one season at a time. And that is how change begins for most people. Not with a loud decision, with a truthful one, a private one, a decision made in silence before the world sees any evidence. A choice that sounds like this: I cannot do this to myself anymore. For years, you may have believed that your real life was about to begin. As soon as you made more money, as soon as you looked better, as soon as you got the relationship right, as soon as you moved, as soon as you healed, as soon as you found the perfect plan, as soon as your confidence arrived, as soon as the timing made sense. But life has a way of exposing that trap because the finish line keeps moving. And the version of you that is finally allowed to begin never arrives. There's always one more condition, one more requirement, one more excuse dressed up like logic, and meanwhile the days keep passing. The dream stays in your head, the business stays in your notes app, the book stays unwritten. The apology stays unsent. The move stays hypothetical. The better habit stays scheduled for Monday. And if you're not careful, you can build an entire identity around almost. Almost started. Almost ready. Almost healed. Almost brave enough. Almost there. But there is something painful about almost. It is close enough to comfort you and far enough to keep you stuck. It gives you the illusion of movement without the discomfort of change. And one day you realize almost has been stealing years from you. That is the day you stop romanticizing potential. That is the day you start respecting action. There's a strange kind of grief that comes from seeing your own unused life. Not because you lacked talent, not because you lacked ideas, not because you were incapable, but because you waited. Waited for support. Waited for certainty. Waited to feel fearless. Waited for the right mood. Waited for a clean path. Waited until your doubts stopped talking. But doubts do not stop talking. You just get stronger than their volume. Courage is not silence in the mind. It is movement in spite of the noise. And the people you admire most are rarely people who never felt afraid. They are usually people who got tired of letting fear make all their decisions. People who learned that confidence is not a prerequisite. It is a result. It comes after repeated evidence, after showing up, after surviving embarrassment, after doing the thing badly before doing it well, after choosing action long enough that your nervous system stops treating growth like danger. That is why your first step matters so much. It is not impressive because it is huge. It is impressive because it interrupts the pattern. It tells your mind, my future is no longer being negotiated by my fear. Maybe you know the pattern well, you get inspired at night and doubtful in the morning. You make a plan when you feel powerful and abandon it when you feel ordinary. You think your discipline should feel exciting. You think your purpose should always feel clear. You think progress should announce itself in obvious ways. But real change is usually quieter than that. It looks like getting up when nobody claps. It looks like doing the work before it becomes rewarding. It looks like repeating small choices so often they stop feeling small. Drinking water when your body asks for numbness. Going for the walk when your mood says, stay inside. Making the phone call you have rehearsed in your head for 3 weeks. Sending the email. Opening the blank page. Having the hard conversation. Turning off the distraction. Telling the truth. Starting before the plan looks beautiful. Starting before your voice stops shaking. Starting while part of you still doubts, it will matter. Because that is how nearly every meaningful life is built. Not in dramatic moments, in repeated moments. There comes a point where you have to decide whether you want to protect your current identity or create a better one. Because often you cannot do both. The current identity is familiar. It knows its lines. It knows how to explain itself. It says things like, I'm just not that disciplined. I've always been this way. I work better under pressure. I have bad luck. I'm too late. I miss my window. That's just how I am. And every time you repeat one of those lines, your mind files it away as evidence. The identity hardens, the future shrinks, but identities can be interrupted. Not through wishful thinking, through contradiction. You want to stop believing you are lazy. Do one disciplined thing today. You want to stop believing you are weak. Keep one promise to yourself tonight. You want to stop believing you always quit. Continue tomorrow. Do not underestimate how powerful it is to create new evidence, not speeches, evidence. Small, undeniable proof. You said you would wake up earlier, and you did. You said you would train, and you did. You said you would save the money, and you did. You said you would stop texting the person who drains you, and you did. Every kept promise is a vote. Every repeated vote becomes identity, and identity, once changed, can alter an entire life. And then a lot of people think transformation starts when you discover your purpose, but often it starts when you get tired of your own excuses. That exhaustion can become sacred if you let it, because there is a holy kind of frustration that shows up when your soul knows you're capable of more. Not more to prove your worth, more because your life is asking to be lived fully. More honesty, more discipline, more peace, more courage, more responsibility, more faith. You do not need to become someone else overnight, but you do need to stop betraying the person you could be. And betrayal is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is the daily habit of abandoning yourself in small ways, ignoring what matters, delaying what heals, distracting yourself from decisions that would set you free. That is why self-respect is not built through self-talk alone. It is built through self-honoring behavior, through actions that say, my future matters enough for me to inconvenience my present. You may not realize it, but every day you are in conversation with yourself, not always out loud, but through your actions, through what you tolerate, through what you pursue, through what you postpone. And the message you send yourself becomes the life you slowly believe you deserve. When you keep settling, you start to think settling is your range. When you keep hiding, you start to think invisibility is safety. When you keep numbing, you start to think peace is impossible without escape. But the opposite is also true. When you begin choosing differently, even in tiny ways, your inner world starts receiving a new message. I am not powerless. I am not finished. I am not trapped in one version of myself. And maybe that is what you need to hear most right now. You are not behind in a way that disqualifies you. You're not broken in a way that makes growth impossible. You are not too old. You are not too late. You are not disqualified because you struggled. You are not doomed because you paused. You may have lost time, but you have not lost your chance. Some people spend years waiting to feel different before they act different. But your feelings are often followers, not leaders. They catch up to what your repeated actions teach them. If you wait to feel motivated, you may wait forever. If you wait to feel worthy, you may keep outsourcing your future to other people's opinions. If you wait until the fear is gone, you may die with your best work still inside you. At some point, you must become someone who can move before the emotional weather is perfect. Someone who does not ask every mood for permission. Someone who can say, yes, I feel doubt, and I'm moving anyway. Yes, I feel grief, and I'm caring for myself anyway. Yes, I feel tired, and I'm keeping this promise anyway. Yes, I feel unready, and I'm beginning anyway. That is not denial. That is maturity. That is leadership of the self. That is how people rebuild after hard years. And maybe you have had hard years. Maybe you have been carrying disappointment so long that it started feeling like personality. Maybe trust was broken. Maybe plans collapsed. Maybe you failed publicly. Maybe you were left behind. Maybe your own mistakes cost you. Maybe you spent too much time in survival mode to think about your future clearly. If that is true, then hear this carefully. You do not need to be ashamed of the ways you survived, but survival is not meant to be your permanent address. One day you have to come out of the emergency version of yourself. One day you have to stop living every day like you're still inside the worst moment. Healing is not pretending the wound never happened. And healing is refusing to let the wound keep writing your identity. And when you begin to heal, truly heal, you will notice something surprising. You start making choices the old you would have called boring. Earlier nights, better boundaries, fewer dramatic people, less chaos, more consistency, a quieter life, a clearer mind. You stop chasing intensity and start protecting peace. And peace, once protected, becomes power. There's also a moment in every serious life where blame stops being useful. Maybe what happened to you was unfair. Maybe people did fail you. Maybe you did not get what you needed. Maybe the environment was wrong. Maybe the support was missing. Maybe the timing was brutal. All of that can be true. And still, the future eventually becomes your responsibility. Not because it is fair, because it is yours. That truth can feel heavy at first, then it becomes liberating, because the moment you stop waiting for a different past, you can finally start building a different future. Responsibility is not punishment. It is power returned to your hands. It means your choices matter again. It means your habits matter, your boundaries matter, your standards matter, your routines matter, the way you speak to yourself matters, the people you keep close matter, the things you repeatedly do in secret matter. And that should not scare you. It should wake you up. Because if repeated choices built the life you have, repeated choices can also rebuild it. Imagine a year from now, not a fantasy version, a real version, a reachable one. What would change if you stopped waiting? What would happen if you kept the promises you usually break? What would happen if you treated your body like it was carrying your future? What would happen if you learned how to sit with discomfort instead of running from it? What would happen if you gave one meaningful goal a full year of honest effort? Not occasional excitement, honest effort, boring effort, embarrassing effort, unseen effort. The kind of effort nobody celebrates until the results become visible. Most people never find out what their life could become because they never stay with one good thing long enough. They restart too often. They abandon the seed because it does not look like a tree after a week. But roots grow in darkness first, so does discipline, so does trust, so does character. A lot is happening before anyone can see it. And maybe that is where you are right now. Underground, unseen, uncelebrated, but becoming. The year you stop waiting is not always the year everything becomes easy. Sometimes it is the year you finally become honest enough to stop choosing easy over necessary. It is the year you stop needing every step to feel glamorous. It is the year you realize repetition is not punishment. It is the price of mastery. It is the year you stop asking whether discipline is restricting you and start seeing how chaos has already been doing that. It is the year you stop trying to win the approval of people who do not even live with the consequences of your life. It is the year you stop shrinking your standards to make other people comfortable. It is the year you stop letting your old story introduce you before your new choices can. It is the year you become dependable to yourself. And that changes something deep, because when you trust yourself, you move differently. You speak differently, you recover differently, you dream differently. You no longer need constant external proof because your own actions have become evidence. Maybe nobody else sees the shift yet. Maybe your life still looks ordinary from the outside. But there is something sacred about ordinary faithfulness. Waking up and doing the work again, choosing the better thought again, refusing the old pattern again, returning to the goal again, apologizing when needed, starting over without self-hatred, resting without quitting, adjusting without abandoning yourself. That is real strength. Not perfection. Return. The ability to return to what matters without turning every stumble into an identity crisis, because you will mess up. You will have off days. You will get discouraged. You will compare. You will overthink. You will feel the temptation to disappear back into your old habits. But the new life belongs to the version of you who returns again and again and again. One day, if you keep going, you will look back and realize the biggest miracle was not the external result. It was the internal reconstruction. You became someone who could be trusted with a better life, someone who could handle more because you learned how to handle yourself, someone who could receive opportunities because you stopped collapsing every time discomfort showed up, someone who no longer needed drama to feel alive, someone who could sit in peace without mistaking it for emptiness, someone who knew how to finish what they started, someone who understood that tiny daily decisions are not tiny at all. They are architects, they are votes, they are prophecy in ordinary clothes. So if this is your season, let it be your season fully. Let this be the year you stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing what matters. Let this be the year you stop rehearsing a better life and start practicing one. Let this be the year your routines become evidence of self-respect. Let this be the year you stop calling yourself lost when really you are being asked to lead yourself. Let this be the year you act before you feel fully ready. Let this be the year you remember that your life is not built in someday. It is built in today, in this morning, in this hour, in the next decision. And maybe that is all change has ever been, not a lightning strike, a series of brave next decisions, one after another, quietly, consistently, honestly, until the life you once imagined starts recognizing you back,